Hello and welcome to Project Archangelos. This is episode number whatever, and I'm just keeping this episode brief. I'm keeping it short. I just wanted to give a bit of an update, and basically, last night I had a crazy dream. I had a crazy dream, for whatever that's worth. I woke up at 3 a.m. after experiencing a dream where I was in some kind of room or building, and the words on the walls were shifting before my eyes like hallucinations. And it wasn't so much that this building was haunted, it was more implying that there was some kind of psychic entity manipulating either the words on the walls or my perception and the perception of the other people that were in this room with me. And that was really it. So I woke up around 3 a.m., went to the bathroom, and I just felt surrounded by this extraterrestrial psychic presence. And I know this is not scientifically justifiable. I'm just explaining how it felt, how it appeared to be. And it's a thought that I've had a lot in recent years, basically to do with what if the Earth is under control or has been captured by extraterrestrial entities. And I imagine, whether it's spaceships or whatever it is, just imagine this force field around the Earth, and that we are all being psychically manipulated by this mysterious otherworldly force. Now, I don't buy into when the media talks about aliens and spaceships and what used to be called UFOs, but now they're called UAPs, unambiguous airborne phenomena, something like that. I don't buy into it, because when the media says something now, after what we've all lived through, when the media says one thing, I assume the opposite is true. It's the boy who cried wolf at this stage. So it's not even that I think it's fake. I'm not saying the news is fake. I'm just saying it's the opposite. Whatever the news says, I assume the opposite is the case. So when the news is trying to tell me that aliens are real, I go, well, now I don't believe in aliens. But the kind of aliens that I do believe in, I think they are perhaps similar to the notion of angels in religion, and maybe encounters with aliens are actually encounters with angels. I don't think it's the other way around. I don't think we are experiencing angels in visions, which are actually aliens, because I would just ask, well, where do aliens come from? You can always go one metaphysical step beyond the physical. And I'm not so sure that aliens are like grey lizard looking, post-human looking entities either. I'm not so convinced, because I think it's just as viable that extraterrestrial entities could exist that are non-physical. They've transcended the physical. Now, whether they've transcended it or they were just born that way. I was just born this way. I was born different. But I don't see, especially now after what we know about artificial intelligence, in the sense that I assumed intelligence had to be confined to biology. I thought intelligence needed a biological house, encapsulation. But now, with artificial intelligence, we can see, and we can debate what intelligence actually is. But I see it as plausible that intelligence does not have to be restricted to biological casings, like biological homes. They don't have to live in a biological structure. They can live outside of a biological structure. And in that same token, why does intelligence necessarily have to be limited to physical structures? Can intelligence exist in the non-physical realm or realms? Can intelligence just exist? Here's another one for you. Do we create intelligence? Is intelligence something that is created? Or is intelligence something that already exists? And through tools now like AI, we tap into what already exists. Is intelligence something you tap into? Does the human brain, is it a receiver? You've heard this before. Rather than a generator of intelligence and a generator of consciousness, are we instead receiving a signal, a frequency of consciousness, of intelligence? So following that, I think it's viable that extraterrestrial entities may be non-physical. And so when the news and Hollywood portrays aliens as these grey, round-headed, lizard-looking, cold-blooded looking entities with giant heads, or whatever, maybe they don't even have bodies. Maybe aliens don't even have bodies, bro. Okay? So it's just something I've entertained. It's just a thought I've entertained. Again, I'm not backing this with any scientific evidence whatsoever. I'm just talking ideas here, okay? Can I just talk ideas? Something that makes a lot of sense to me is that the Earth is held hostage in this kind of force field, this extraterrestrial force field. And I swear some days, some weeks, it's almost like the Truman Show and the director is like watching. Some weeks, I swear the frequency gets turned up into hyperdrive and a lot of crazy just happens. A lot of crazy just happens. I feel it in myself. So like I slept, so I went back to bed after that dream, even though I was like lying in bed awake, feeling this extraterrestrial presence was communicating with me telepathically, sending me these visions in the dream realm. And then I think of that meme where it's Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen and someone's asking him, source? Like, what's your source for your information? Source? And it's Dr. Manhattan, like ascending, and he's just like cryptic symbolism in my dreams. That's what I think about. Because it wasn't what I experienced, it wasn't a nightmare. It wasn't a haunted house. It was more just like what felt like psychic telepathic communication. So anyway, I went back to sleep and I woke up around 10 a.m. I went to bed maybe like midnight, so that's like a pretty big sleep for me. And it's Holy Saturday today. Holy Saturday. So everything's shut. I can't go to the library or anything. And even if I could, there'd just be humans everywhere because everyone's stuck. Like it's school holidays and it's a public holiday. So I've opened the blinds to let light in so I could film this. But today I've just kept all the blinds closed. I've like shut all my windows. I had them open overnight so that I've got fresh air, but I just don't want to hear about other humans. I don't want to know about other humans because the world is crazy enough. I'm really sensitive to when everyone's on a public holiday and is stuck at home. I like feel the world coming to a halt psychically, energetically. And I pick up on all the crazy. So when everyone's stuck at home, I feel it and I shut all my windows. I'm like, the fact I'm even filming this, I was just not even going to do anything. I was not going to create anything today, but I just decided to anyway. But so where am I going with this? So I've been feeling it this week, this like wave of crazy, and it makes me wonder if there is a director out there just like turn it up to 11, the crazy frequency, the 5G, whatever, whatever. If you don't think that's real, you actually can take classes in science that talk about invisible frequencies like radio waves, Wi-Fi. Think of the Wi-Fi in every person's home right now. We assume it's safe, but do you know? You don't know. You're trusting people that you assume know. I'm not saying it's safe or not safe. I'm just saying you don't know. Yet you like to think you know with this air of arrogance, and that's just not cool. It's not actually that cool to be so arrogant without actually doing experimentation yourself. Because there are invisible frequencies. This is just provable by science. Think about the color spectrum. Humans can only perceive a limited frequency range, whether it's sound, whether it's vision. And thank God for that. Because just imagine if we had full access to the full spectrum of everything, we'd go insane. We'd just be like overstimulated. We'd probably just explode or implode. I don't know, I'm kind of jumping to conclusions there. But my point is, there are invisible frequencies. That's not schizo. I'm taking it to schizo conclusions, perhaps. But Wi-Fi is a thing. You can't see Wi-Fi, but it's a thing on the electromagnetic spectrum. So it makes me wonder, and I'd been feeling the crazy amped up to 11 this week. So I allowed myself to sleep until 10, and then I went back to sleep for another couple of hours because my brain was just so active already, even though I slept for ages. My brain was just overactive. So I couldn't actually do anything. Sometimes, it doesn't happen often, but sometimes my brain gets so overactive and overstimulated that all I can do is like lie down. And it is painful in the sense that, because it's a lot of activity in the brain, a lot of fireworks going off. And you feel like you should be doing stuff, and all you can do is really lie down. So I just kept sleeping. Maybe it was because the previous week I stayed up all night a couple of times just making music, because I love making songs and making music. And also once I start, I have to finish it in one sitting, because otherwise it lingers and it just sits with me, and then I feel stuck. So when I start something creative, I have to finish it. And so I pulled a couple of all-nighters. Maybe it's my body catching back up. I also think I'm feeling the energy of everybody stopping suddenly from work and whatever. But anyway, that's my conjecture. I do wonder if the Earth is held hostage by this like force field, this extraterrestrial force field that's like manipulating us all on a very subconscious level, and it makes us think that we're gods, or it makes us think that we are having these ideas ourselves, when actually we're being manipulated like little puppets, whether on the individual level, but I'm more talking collectively. Because if you zoom out far enough, humans resemble ants, and then you zoom out further and you can't even, humans don't even really exist in a way, because you zoom out so much. It's like being in a plane. You can only kind of see mountains and forests and oceans. But if you go up like a tall building and you look down at humans, we look like ants. We behave like ants. We think we are like, the ego thinks we are the hero, blah, blah, blah. But really, I think we're very much like animals, in the sense of like group. We love our groups. We organize into groups. And we respond to physical changes. Like if there's a loud sound, we tend to go away from the sound. But we like to think we're very important. And anyway, that's not even really my point. I'm kind of digressing. My point was just to communicate this strange dream. And it ties in, to me, it ties in with the nature of this podcast, which is Project Archangelos. It comes back to the theme of the initial visions that I started experiencing in 2020. The idea of an archangel. The idea of an archangel, Project Archangelos, Archangelos being the Greek spelling and pronunciation of archangel, project referring to the secretive nature, potentially secret esoteric knowledge or just secret military intelligence. Combining the two, Project Archangelos. So when I have an encounter with psychic extraterrestrial entities in the dream realm, it makes me want to get back onto this podcast. And so what's been happening anyway, I haven't been making episodes. Basically, this podcast started when I went sober at the end of last year, towards the end of last year. I went sober for like a month, and it was really good for me. But I started writing more, I started reading more, and I started creating podcasts because I had this excess energy that was no longer being muted by drugs and alcohol, let's say. And so basically I've gone sober again, and it's interesting how I'm starting to create this podcast again, almost as a necessity, in fact, entirely out of necessity. I get this calling, the archangel beckons, and I need to get it out. I need to get it out, and you can take it how you want to take it. But that's why I'm starting these back up. It's like every time I go sober, my brain goes into overdrive, not in an anxiety way necessarily, but just in a like, is anybody else having these thoughts? Is anybody else alive and experiencing thoughts and ideas and realizations? Sometimes very rapidly and suddenly, sometimes very gradual and drawn out over long periods of time. So I'm starting this back up. I've got no notes for today. I'll probably just get more organized with this. And in saying that, if you have any feedback, please let me know, because I'm sort of shaping this as I go. I will always do this how I want to do this, because I'm not getting paid by anyone or anything. This is just me making this, so I'm going to do it how I want. But of course, I want it to be the best it can be, just for the sake of it being the best it can be. Just for the sake of excellence. So if you have any suggestions how this might be more useful for you as the listener, it actually helps me shape this better. But alas, I will wrap it up because I think I'm getting close to 25 minutes. So anyway, that's it. I just wanted to share that dream. Let me know if you've had any bizarre psychic occurrences lately, because I sure have, and maybe we could link up and put points on a map and draw conclusions and make a graph about what's actually going on. But I personally feel like there are entities attempting to communicate with humanity psychically, subconsciously, and telepathically. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you've experienced anything like that, because it happens to me sometimes and then it goes away and then it comes back. And it's basically why, well, it's one reason that's helping me stay sober, because I want the channels to be clean. I want the channels to be clear and clean to receive the signals, baby. So anyway, let me know if this was useful for you, and I don't know, or not even useful, just interesting, or if you've had your own experiences. For now, I wish you a happy Easter, and I send you all the best. Peace and love.